The Last of Us has got a great show now on HBO. It's really good, and Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, the two creators of the show, basically said pretty plainly in the past that they don't intend to adapt anything that's not part of the games. Which is a lot of people wondering, will we just get to season 2 and it boom, then we have to wait for a new game.
Yeah.
So in an interview with BuzzFeed, Neil Druckmann gave a sort of update on where the studio is with regards to returning to its current properties. He said he didn't really mince words, and he said that Naughty Dog is done with Uncharted. They have moved on. It seems unlikely that they are going to be making another Uncharted game. He says, for us, Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 was one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put our final brushstroke on that story and say that we're done. We're moving on. That's as definitive as you're going to get. That does not mean we will not get another Uncharted. There's been rumors forever now that Sony Santa Monica is going to be taking the reins of Uncharted and producing a new one. Because of course they will. Sony's not going to just be like, cool, we're done with that highly successful, highly lucrative.
We need money. Monet.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
But with regards to The Last of Us, it's a bit of a trickier story. He says, it's up to us whether we want to continue The Last of Us or not. Our process is the same thing we did when we did part 2, which is if we can come up with a compelling story that has this universal message and statement about love, just like the first and the second game did, then we will tell that story. If we can't come up with something, we will have a very strong ending with part 2, and that will be the end. So that, to me, that suggests to me that they haven't. There's been reports, it's been written about before, and she tweeted it this week as well, that Haley Gross, the co-writer of The Last of Us Part 2, submitted an outline for a Part 3, but that's as far as it got for now.
Yeah.
So this tells me there is zero active development on a Part 3 currently, because I assume Naughty Dog is working on the Factions multiplayer game, which they say is really, really big.
Yeah.
And Neil Druckmann already said he's working on a new IP. So I don't think they have the capacity to be working on 3 games at this time. So if The Last of Us Part 3 is a thing, it's not for a while.
Yeah.
And
not
that
for many years, yeah.
That makes the TV show quite an interesting prospect, because if they are going to, so we can move on. I guess The Last of Us Part 2 is getting a second season. It's been renewed by HBO. Shocker.
Surprise.
The first season does encompass the first game fully, and also includes Left Behind, the DLC for the first game. So that is very much, this is the first game told, done and dusted.
Yeah.
And they've already said in this renewal that the second season will focus on the second game. Now, like you've said many times, you don't think they will fit all of the second game into one season.
Not a chance.
I think they could. I don't think they will.
No.
Because of this whole Last of Us 3 stuff. There is no reason HBO goes, we're going to make a second season of the show and then just put it on ice until eventually there's a third game, or never. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, well, we'll do 2 seasons of the second game. And that, gives us 4 years of time to figure out if there even is going to be a third game, or maybe then the opinions of Druckmann and Mazin change and they do some other stories within this universe. But that makes the most sense to me now.
Well, if anything, again, I would be baffled and floored if they could fit the entire second game into one full season. Okay. If anything, I could see them splitting it.
It's a larger game than the first one.
It's way bigger. I could see them maybe doing it over 2 seasons, and doing it justice. But I do wonder with this multiplayer game how that will bleed into, even that season. If this multiplayer game is obviously a whole separate story, but we don't know how far away it is from Joel and Eddie. Is it the same? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it the same town? Is it a completely different part of the US? Is it a different continent? We don't know. Maybe some of the multiplayer stuff will bleed into the show. We don't know. But I do think if they do an extra 2 seasons of The Last of Us, that puts us in our 2025, 2026. Maybe by then they'll have reconsidered making the third game, or they will have it in production. But even if they don't do the TV show, maybe they will just end it at season 2, and that's that, and that's cool. You don't need to now, hey, Naughty Dog, you need to make a third game so the show can carry on. I don't think that's
I do think regardless of whether they split it into 2 seasons or not, the second game, like that's still not enough time for the third game to get
for
going.
sure.
Like they would need the third game to be done.
Yeah.
For them to even start on a season for that. So either way, I think the series is kind of going to end with the second game and for a long time, unless they change their minds on what they're going to include.
Exactly.
So yeah, we'll see. I just hope HBO doesn't do what they did to like Westworld, where there was a very definitive like, this is the story we want to take, and to a degree, like the story was then written out for more season or whatever, but it just got so ludicrous. Like, yeah, I just hope they don't do that, because then that sours The Last of Us as a property.
Yes.
As a whole for a bunch of people. So, or they do the Game of Thrones things where they're like, well, we don't have content to carry on writing. We're just going to do our own.
Yeah.
And I don't think Druckmann would stick around for that. But if HBO has the license to continue doing that and it's making them money, I can see people doing that. So
yeah.
Hope it doesn't come to that, but we'll see.
No, we will see.
Show's good. Really
Real
enjoying
good.
it. I do wonder what they do with the second game. Like the second game structure is so different. It is very much you play up to a point and then there is a hard cut and you go all the way back.
But
then play up. Like, how does that convey onto
How
a series?
funny would it be though if season 2 is that first half of the game and season 3 is
that's what I was thinking as well.
Because the game is told like that for a very specific reason, to make you feel one thing and then flip it on its head and go like, but also here's this other perspective. I could see the show being the same thing.
If season 2, if it's split into like, if it ends with that confrontation in like the theater, and that's how it like ends. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, it would be quite impactful, I think. So
I also think so. I think it would translate pretty well into a TV format like that. I mean, the first game has which I suppose gives credit to Naughty Dog in how they tell stories. Like a lot of people will argue, it's more story than game, and I can get that because the games are very story focused. It's not a bad thing.
It's a real filmic flair to how the game is shot and framed, and I mean, I guess that's why it makes sense that the second episode was directed by Neil Druckmann. It's like, yeah, of course, he's kind of knows what he's doing with regards to like how to shoot things and how to frame things for tension. So
I did laugh. There was a tweet going around this week where it's a shots of Neil Druckmann and one of the clickers. The caption is like Neil Druckmann telling the clicker where to spawn. Like, that's great.
I love that they brought back the original voice actors for the clickers because they sound phenomenal.
Yeah,
like
it is funny though. Imagine being at a dinner party. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm a voice actor. What's your best role? Like, I'm the clicker.
I'm the clicker.
Like,
you seen
wow.
Last of Us?
Wow,
I'm
give
that
us
fucking
show
thing with
us.
head split open. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone at the restaurant just leaves.
Like,
just
oh my god. Cool. In other news this week, so Xbox had a little sneaky not sneaky, we knew about it a couple of weeks ago. An Xbox and
this wasn't a surprise.
Developer Direct. What was a surprise though is, like we touched on earlier, Hi-Fi Rush. So I'll just get that out the way quickly. Hi-Fi Rush was announced and simultaneously released the very same day. Very cool little unexpected shadow drop, because when the showcase was announced, we knew we were going to get a close look at 4 games, including Minecraft Legends, Forza Motorsport, The Elder Scrolls Online, and what is the 4th one? I'm blanking here. Oh, Redfall. So we got a release date for Redfall, and we got a release
10
date
minutes
for
of gameplay. Redfall. I'm still excited for this game. Let me be pretty upfront with that. I think it's going to be fun, and I've yet to be disappointed by an Arcane Austin gig. I think they really still struggle to show this game off in trailers. Like, it just does not trailer well.
That's the thing. We were talking about it at work, and one of my colleagues said it just looked slow. And I was like, it looks slow because, it happens with a lot of games. No one plays the game like that. But when you want to show how a game is, your character's going to walk slow and like look around at the environment and pull out a gun and shoot. I think when you're playing the game, it's going to be way more fast-paced. And you're going to be, you can play it solo because, they've said it is, you can play it solo, but I think playing this co-op would be a lot of fun.
I think the co-op is going to
Yeah.
be the big thing. I I did get the sense more from this trailer than in the past because I think a lot of people in the past have thought this is more of a Left 4 Dead gig,
Mm,
and I from this trailer I could definitely see how this is more like a Far Cry.
mm,
Like this is you've got points around the map that have enemies, and those give you certain pieces of equipment, whatever, and then you've
yeah.
got your story beats which take you to more scripted
Mm,
scenes and whatever. But I guess the introduction of characters who are more like hero shooter archetypes with different abilities is more in line with like your Left 4 Dead. So
yeah.
but it does definitely seem it's got the DNA of an arcane game, immersive sim. They were very adamant that you could approach all of these scenarios in different ways depending
Mm,
on your chosen character and your weaponry at the time. Like for instance, there was definitely stealth there, which is like awesome.
mm,
I can't imagine an arcane game without some element of stealth.
yeah.
um but yeah, the gameplay just does not, it does, like, I can see the potential there. I just don't think it comes through
Mm,
in what they're showing, and
yeah.
that's a real bummer. I just really hope that this is not a case of me putting tons of stock in Arcane Austin and then I play the game and it's like, oh, this actually is like what the trailers are, and it is
Actual.
very slow and boring.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
We'll
out
see.
on May 2nd,
Mm,
so I'm glad we got a date for that finally. So pretty soon. What else? We got Elder Scrolls Online update,
there's
some
a
new expansion
new
called
expansion.
Necrom. Uh,
Minecraft Legends, it
uh,
does get a release date as well. 18th of April. Yeah, so that got a
this
release date.
looks sick. This looks
Mm,
really cool. Like, so if you aren't familiar, Minecraft Legends is a like action strategy game, like an
mm,
RTS almost, but a lot more action focused. Spin on Minecraft, and they focused a lot on like PvP here, which looked really cool.
mm.
Um, I'm keen. I really liked Minecraft Dungeons,
Dungeons. Yep.
the action RPG take on Minecraft. So I'm keen for another take on this sort of universe because I think there's just a lot you can do with this art style and these sorts of characters.
They,
And
yeah,
yeah,
they could make a ton of different games from different genres just in Minecraft,
mm,
which is what they're doing. So
yeah,
yeah,
it looks really good, and because it's a strategy game made for console, that's I think why it comes with more of an action
mm,
focused, twist, just to keep things interesting while you're playing with a controller. So
yeah,
yeah, it looks cool. It's out on
it's April
April 18th,
18th.
and this is out on PlayStation as well, obviously, because Minecraft has come to all
Uh,
platforms ever since
I was like,
Microsoft.
what?
Yeah. I think considering the acquisition talks happening, it would be really stupid of Microsoft to be like, "Oh, this is the first Minecraft game that is only on Xbox." Like, that would just
Oh
get
my
regulated, being
goodness.
like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, what's going on?
Um, yeah. But of course,
Um,
it's on Game Pass, so if you're on Xbox or
wink,
PC, you
wink.
get it for that.
Yeah,
And that to me is the strategy that they should follow. They probably will follow with Activision. So,
yeah. And then we got a closer look at Forza Motorsport, which,
Forza
yeah,
Motorsport
sorry, Forza, which looks very cool. But there was
looks phenomenal.
no release dates, which I think
Yeah, it's a bit
upsets
of
a
a
lot of
bummer, and it
people.
kind of
Yeah,
bleeds into another news story we have because this is expected to come out first half of 2023. It seems
yeah.
that a delay will be announced imminently that will
Mm,
push it out of that. And considering they just said 2023 with no indication of the year, it suggests that that's going to happen. I think Forza looks really good. I think visually it looks incredible. Like if they
mm,
get this going on the Xbox Series X and S, because it isn't coming to old Xbox consoles. You can only play it via cloud streaming, which is kind of neat. You can still
you can
play
still
it.
play it. Yeah,
But yeah, it's going to have 500 cars. Best part, it's going to have Kyle Army.
nice.
Very first time in a
Vroom
Forza that
vroom.
we get Kyle Army there, and they showed off a bunch of footage from Kyle Army. And
Mm,
fuck yeah, I'm keen to race around Kyle Army. That's dope.
nice. Um,
That was it, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, and yeah, just you've already said that it's reportedly delayed to Q3 or later. So I guess
Yeah.
we will see.
Wouldn't be shocked. I mean, we're bound to get a new Starfield. Sort of, they said beforehand that Starfield's going to get its own direct like thing like this specifically for Starfield, and I bet they will get an indication of a release date. And
Mm,
I also, just like Forza, don't expect that to come in the first half of this year. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Xbox is already pretty busy the first half of the year anyway. Like
Already much busier than they were last year.
yeah, we've
So
got a Half-Hour Rush now. We've got Minecraft
Redfall,
Legends and Redfall. Like that's
Minecraft.
already 3
Yeah.
big games
Yeah,
already.
it's big games. And I'm pretty sure at E3 they're going to show off a bunch more. Maybe not for this year, but for the future. So
Yeah.
they kind of do. Phil Spencer said in a recent interview that they kind of realized that 2022 was way too lean
It was
on release.
empty. It was
So,
like
yeah,
super
the early
empty.
big release was Grounded. Can you believe it?
Nice.
Yeah.
And like Pentiment, which was just like a subtle in December.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Pentiment was more lucky that it was received as well as it was, than this is a marquee game we're going to get behind.
Yeah. Cool. In other news, you're gonna have to tell me about this. Annapurna published the Pathless out on Xbox and Switch next
This
week.
is just a small thing. We're chatting about it before the show, but the Pathless is a game developed by a studio called Giant Squid and published by Annapurna Interactive. Giant Squid was started by the art director on Journey from that game company. And the Pathless is, I think, their second game because they did that diving game that I keep forgetting the name of. That was like Journey but underwater.
Yeah, Abzu.
Then they did Abzu, that's the one. But then they've done the Pathless, which is like a very kinetic, parkour-focused like action game. It's like an open world, and you run really fast, and you've got this falcon and a bow, and you shoot stuff, and it's a really cool adventure exploration game. A lot of people say Forspoken. This is like a baby Forspoken, you know what I mean? In terms of like its kind of gameplay loop. So it's been on PlayStation for a while, since 2022, and PC. I mean, since 2020, sorry.
Yeah.
But now it is coming to both Switch and Xbox, and it will be on Game Pass. And it's out on every second. So it actually should have been on our release list, but I guess that hadn't been updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Switch, do you like Goldeneye? Have you ever played Goldeneye?
I've never played Goldeneye. I never had an N64.
So if you don't know, Goldeneye 007 is an iconic N64 game for, I think, because the game itself is very good, but also for that good N64 era of 4-player split-screen co-op.
Yeah.
Like
the progenitor of first-person split-screen multiplayer.
And it is now finally coming to NES Online. But also,
it is already.
Well, it is. Sorry, yeah, you're right. It is out already, and on Game Pass. Didn't expect that, but that's pretty cool.
2 completely different versions of the game, though.
Yeah.
One is more of a remaster, whereas the Nintendo Switch one is like the original, just being emulated. Yeah.
I will say, like, I played the original back in the day, and while I'm very keen to dive into this, I do not know if I'll play it from beginning to end, because I think it is dated. Like, this game is ancient.
This is a game from when? When was it released?
Like it must
26
be
years ago.
90s, yeah. Oh my god, that makes me feel so old.
So 1997? Yeah. Listen, I don't know. I think it's cool from a preservation point of view that you can play it, even though it's not. It seems that there's a lot of problems with the game in terms of like visuals that are not like just because like it's old. It's like it's actually something's balked in this thing. But at least it gives a lot of people the chance to play this game. I don't think I think like you said, a lot of people are going to play like the first level and be like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then stop.
Yeah.
And there's very few people going to play this game online multiplayer, because the online multiplayer is only on Nintendo Switch, which apparently has its own problems. Like the control scheme on the Switch is super bad, and you can't change it apparently, which is insane. But yeah, it's cool that it's finally out. There was someone on Twitter, I can't recall who, that was explaining that there is a more robust remaster, almost akin to like what we consider remakes now, version of this that had been worked on for a long time and then got stuck in like development hell because of licensing issues.
Yeah.
So it's just there, it exists, and that's not the one we got.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is.
Oh yeah, the visual enhancements on this re-release aren't the same as the GoldenEye remake. A version of that project leaked in 2021. It was a remake made for the Xbox 360 before Nintendo quashed it because of rights issues. There's no word on whether the project is still officially in development. That's the one that it would have been great if we got, but that's
Yeah.
not the one we have. So,
Nice. I mean, I'll give this a try.
will you play GoldenEye? Let us know.
I'll try.
Well, the only James Bond game I remember playing from that era, which is strange, is Tomorrow Never Dies on PlayStation 1, and that was like a third-person game. It was like third-person James Bond. It was weird.
This is the only James Bond I've played, and it was like actually good at the time. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where at the time it was like, whoa, revolutionary. Today it's like, oof, really rough.
Just old. It's a first-person shooter from nearly 30 years ago, of course.
Yeah, no, it is worth pointing out it was on the Nintendo 64, which had huge space limitations.
Yeah.
Also,
you can say, oh, this is 4K 60 FPS. It's like, okay, yes.
With a
potato
file.
could run it at 4K 60 FPS.
On Nintendo News, though, a sealed... I just threw this in because it made me cry.
Oh my god, this was so horrible.
A sealed copy of Pokemon Yellow with thousands of lives damaged. So United States Customs absolutely destroyed a graded box copy of Pokemon Yellow for the Game Boy, said to be potentially worth over $10,000.
It was like one of the highest graded cards you could get, a 9.2 out of 10. Oh my god!
So if you're looking at the video feed, there's a tweet here from somebody named Stephen Kick, who tweeted, "Friend of mine received the sealed and graded original copy of Pokemon Yellow. So US Customs broke the acrylic case, ripped and discarded the seal, sliced the front of the box off." And then, very jokingly, they added, maybe they weren't fans of At the Water games. Like, I don't know. It's sad. Can you imagine?
Hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. Just imagine like 100K just out of the window like that because Customs was a dick to you. And you can't do anything about it. Like,
yeah. I'm like, well, how else are you supposed to ship it? Like,
oof.
I don't know.
It says here, whether Kick's friend will be compensated may come down to if the shipment was insured. The US Postal Service allows for collectibles to be insured based on value, so it's possible a claim could lead to the full value of the sealed Pokemon Yellow. Even without insurance, however, there may be enough evidence to show that USPS intentionally destroyed the game for a claim to go through.
Yeah.
Legalities are unclear given the powers US Customs agents have to dig through the mail to look for contraband.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's insured and you're like, this thing is worth X amount, you need to pay me, that is an even better result because now he doesn't need to look for a buyer. He just gets the money.
He just gets the molar. Yeah. Yeah, sad. And then last piece of news, announced, I think this was just last night.
Yesterday, yeah.
Tomb Raider TV series coming to Amazon from Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
So Phoebe Waller-Bridge from Fleabag, and she's starring in the new Indiana Jones, reportedly developing a TV series based on Tomb Raider. Not to star in, she will be developing and writing the scripts for the series. Nice. She'll also executive produce. But yeah, that's what's being reported. There's been no official announcement. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, Phoebe Waller-Bridge has done writing a bunch. I think she did some writing on a recent James Bond film as well.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, it's not like this is her first time writing action.
I do love this era we are living through where there are so many video game adaptations in TV
also
shows.
Just so many different ones. There's meant to be a new movie, now there's a series. It's just like the Tomb Raider multiverse.
It just said Netflix has an upcoming anime series based on the Tomb Raider world as well. So like Lara Croft.
Oh yeah, there was a Hayley Atwell was Lara Croft in the adventure. Yeah, Lara Croft's Adventures on a Netflix series. Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, Netflix has an upcoming anime series based on the Tomb Raider world to follow Lara Croft's adventures after the events of the Crystal Dynamics reboot trilogy, and it has Hayley Atwell as Lara Croft. Well, that's cool.
There you go. And on that is news.
News
all
that
this
is news.
week.